If you've ever walked through the darkness and felt a pair of unseen eyes follow you. If you've ever hesitated before opening your own front door because something in your chest tightened for no reason. If you've ever sensed a presence the moment before you turned your back, then tonight's stories will feel far too real, because these are not tales crafted for entertainment. These are real, close encounters, frightening moments, lived by ordinary people, moments where danger stepped close enough to breathe on their skin, close enough to imprint a memory they still feel in their bones. But inside every moment of fear, there is a spark of awakening. Every brush with darkness holds a message. Every close encounter, no matter how horrifying, leaves behind a truth that can strengthen you, sharpen your instincts, and remind you of the fire you carry within. Fear has a strange way of exposing the parts of us we forget exist. It strips away pride, ego, and overthinking, revealing the raw human spirit, the part of you that wants to live, that wants to rise, that refuses to be taken. These stories tonight aren't just meant to send chills down your spine. They're here to remind you of your own power, your own resilience, your own inner voice that knows more than you ever give it credit for. So, take a breath and sit with me in the dark for a moment. Let the world quiet around you. Let the room still itself. And listen closely. Not just with your ears, but with that inner sense, the one that knows when something is wrong, long before you understand why. Because that sense, that intuition, is the most ancient and faithful form of protection you'll ever possess. There was a young woman named Sarah who worked in a mountain town during winter. She wasn't someone who scared easily. The cold didn't bother her, and neither did the emptiness of the roads after dark. One night, as snow twisted silently through the air and covered the ground like a fresh sheet pulled over the world, Sarah walked home along her usual path. The only sound was the gentle crunch of her boots breaking through the untouched snow. But then something shifted. It wasn't a noise, or a shadow, or anything she could explain. It was a feeling, a drop in her stomach, a tightening in her chest, a whisper inside her that said, quietly but clearly, "Don't keep walking." She froze, staring ahead at an old cabin she passed every night. It looked the same as always. Dark windows, a tilted roof. She shook her head, whispered to herself, "It's nothing," and kept walking. He smiled without warmth, without humanity, and said, "Do you need help?" The way he asked, it made her soul recoil. After what felt like an eternity, she heard him slip. The road was covered in ice, and he crashed onto it with a heavy thud. She didn't stop running until she reached a house with lights on. She lived. She survived. All because she finally listened to the voice she ignored moments earlier. Police later confirmed that the man had been stalking women who walked alone at night. Sarah wasn't his first attempt, but she became the first one to escape. And all because her intuition knew the truth before her eyes ever did. Intuition is not fear. It's awareness. It's the spiritual whisper that guides you, warns you, protects you long before your mind catches up. And too often, we silence it. We don't want to appear dramatic, paranoid, rude, or irrational. But your inner voice doesn't cry out to embarrass you, it cries out to save you. There is the first lesson of these encounters. The voice inside you knows what the world doesn't. Trust it before you trust anything else. There was a delivery driver named Amina who learned this in her own terrifying way. One night, while working a late shift, she saw what appeared to be an injured man lying at the side of the road. He lifted one arm slowly, like he was asking for help. Her heart softened. She wanted to help him. But as she pulled her car to a slow halt, something felt strange. The man's body language was off. His face didn't show pain, and through the reflection of her side mirror, she caught a glimpse of his eyes, not pleading, calculating. He wasn't hurt. He was analyzing her, watching her reaction, waiting for her to step out. Amina trusted her instincts. Not all close encounters can be explained logically. Some presences in this world cannot be understood, only avoided. A man camping in Arizona reported hearing footsteps circling his tent for hours, slow, deliberate pacing that stopped whenever he shined his flashlight. The next morning, there were no footprints, not even his own. Rangers later told him he wasn't the first to hear those footsteps. Others had heard them too, but the ones who stayed longer than one night were never heard from again. In life, you don't have to investigate every strange thing. You don't have to walk deeper into the unknown to prove you're strong. Sometimes survival depends on distance, not bravery. Some darkness is not meant to be studied, only escaped. Strength often reveals itself in moments we feel at least. A woman stuck alone in an elevator at midnight heard whispers crawling through the vents above her. The building was empty, no staff, no cleaners, no security. Every hair on her neck stood upright as the whispering grew louder, as though something was hovering just above her. Panic threatened to swallow her whole. Her hands trembled so violently she could barely press the emergency button. But she forced herself to breathe, to calm her racing heart, to speak clearly into the intercom. She held on to her courage with both shaking hands until rescue arrived. Later she learned the building's power surge had knocked out the upper floors. No one was there. No one had been there for hours. And yet, something had whispered her name. But fear didn't claim her. Her strength did. Isolation also has a way of revealing who you truly are. A fisherman alone at sea heard splashing beneath the moonlight. When he found a man floating in the water, he pulled him aboard inly to realize the man had no reflection in the surface of the waves. Every time he blinked, the man seemed closer, leaning toward him. Terrified, the fisherman navigated his way back to shore, shaking, sweating, whispering prayers under his breath. The moment he reached land, he looked over his shoulder, and the man was gone. Loneliness can break a person, but it can also awaken parts of the soul we never knew were capable of endurance. Strength grows in silence. Hope, too, plays its role in survival. A child lost in the woods at dusk heard someone calling his name. At first, he thought it was a rescuer, but the voice kept changing direction, echoing strangely, as if trying to lure him deeper. His fear was overwhelming. But then he remembered his mother's words. If something feels wrong, sit still and pray. And so, he did. He sat under a tree, holding himself tightly, whispering into the darkness. Hours later, a search team found him exactly where he stayed. Had he followed the voice, they said, he would have been miles away, in the most dangerous part of the forest. Hope is not weakness. Hope is a compass. Faith also has a way of guiding people out of situations they weren't meant to face alone. A taxi driver once picked up a woman on a deserted road. She had long hair, pale skin, and eyes that didn't blink. As he drove, she leaned forward and said one chilling sentence, "Don't look behind you." His hands tightened around the steering wheel. Something inside him twisted with dread. He didn't look, not once. When he arrived at the place she asked to be dropped off, the back seat was empty. A priest he later visited told him, "Some warnings come from angels disguised as fear." Faith doesn't erase danger, but it lights the path that leads you out. And so, as the night deepens and the world grows quiet around you, I want to offer you something beyond the fear, something warm, something steady. You are stronger than you know. Your intuition is wiser than you think. Your courage is deeper than the shaking in your hands. Your hope burns brighter than the shadows that try to swallow it. And your faith, whatever shape it takes, is a light that darkness cannot extinguish. May God place light before you, behind you, above you, and within you. May no shadow touch your soul, no evil come near your path. May your intuition awaken, your courage rise, your hope steady, and your heart stay unshaken. May you walk through every night protected, guided, and watched over. Amen.